gosh. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Lord. Oh my gosh.
All right, it has been an absolute mad dash to get this rascal skinned and, well, drugged over to the side by side and loaded up and skinned and quartered, but he's now kind of splitting his time between the refrigerator and the freezer, and we'll get to working on him soon because we are almost out of hamburger.
All right, so the form I went with on my buck was the 6900 series wall pedestal from McKinsey. I knew that I wanted to do a wall pedestal or a floor pedestal for him, especially for competition. And quite honestly, I just don't have the room for a floor pedestal at home. So I went with the wall pedestal. Now, one of the things that my mentor warned me about early on this particular form was that this shoulder hump on both sides is a little bit too much for most of these deer, and especially for early season deer. Now, my buck was killed on September 17th, which is about as early as you can get in Missouri. Season opened September 15th, and it was definitely an issue. Neck fit great, and then when I was test fitting, couldn't get over these shoulders. So what I had to do is I had to cut off the shoulder, maybe about an inch and a half, cut off, take that top piece that I just cut off, set it aside, make another slice about 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick on either side, and then put that cap back on. Had to do the same thing on the top, and we put that cap back on so that I still had all this detail. And then I just had to rasp it smooth and make sure that I had smooth transitions and weren't creating any like weird muscles that didn't exist. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to getting some judges' feedback on, is my alteration work. Went with the change out nose, and then I epoxied in my ears, and then we went to town and made it happen.
Okay, well, he came together pretty easy, not quite as easy as a regular shoulder mount, but here's where I'm at so far. Did all that modification to the body, getting the glue on there, it all slid on pretty easy. I did have to jockey around a little bit to get the brisket lined up. I did add a little bit more epoxy than what I originally had around those antler burrs and tacked them in. I'm gonna be watching that pretty good. It's the first time I've ever tried that. So, got it all tucked in, gonna watch it and keep tweaking as it dries.
Okay, so right now what I'm doing is known as babysitting. So for the next 4 weeks or so, as it's drying, I want it to dry as slow as possible, because that skin's gonna shrink. And as it shrinks, it might mess up some hair patterns. My lips might start coming untucked. My eye shape might start to morph a little bit. And I'm just gonna go through every single day and just try to make sure if anything's moving that I'm trying to put it back exactly the way I want it as it dries over the course of the next 4 weeks or so. A lot of people, from what I gather, are grooming while they're doing this. So they're back brushing and blow drying and things while they do that. I've never done a short-haired early season buck before. And so I really just want to keep it as still as possible as it's drying, really making sure that my skin folds and hair patterns are right where I want them. And then after it's dry, I've got plenty of time to groom before the Missouri competition. So I'm just going to be watching it, babysitting it. After it's dry, I'll be doing a lot of grooming. I'll be working on the backing for this. And then I'm going to figure out what I want to do for kind of a stand for this for competition.
So one of the things I did not do was, and because I didn't think about it, was the inner ear detail down here in this canal. I did not keep it because I treated it kind of like you would commercial work, where you end up cutting off that inner ear detail so you can pull that cartilage easier. And didn't really think about it until I went to the national show. And as I was peeking in those ear canals at the national show, every single one of them had all that inner ear detail. So, but not to panic, I did buy a tool that is kind of like a stamp, where you can stamp in the inner ear detail. So we're gonna play around with it today and see if it works. I don't think it's perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than what was there before, which was nothing. So once that dries, actually get in there and paint it, and hopefully you won't be able to tell.